thank you for joining me.
Of course.
And yeah, it's a bit of a trek to be 32. It's drizzling on us, cold and gray, early February. So I really do appreciate you helping, and just going to talk about Speak Your Mind a little bit, talk about our mission and the Ohio Men's Group movement that we're working on right now, and that you're helping us with. Since I'm still in Arizona, I'm obviously from Ohio, born and raised, and you're still here in Ohio helping us get these off the ground. Speak Your Mind began 2 years ago after I left Ohio and really struggled with my mental health, with depression and suicidal thoughts. And I realized how many other men were also suffering. So the question started as like, how do we help? How do we show up and help men? And since then, we've really grown a lot in Arizona. We've gotten some good traction out there. We lean on nature and movement to do what we do. And you don't have many mountains out here.
No, we don't.
It took us both a little while to get here, to get to, I think, the biggest park, Columbus. And that was always a struggle for me when I lived here, is you have to go to Zanesville or down south to Old Man's Cave.
Yeah, Hocking Hills, big one.
Out west, I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona, and we have mountains up to 12,000 feet. So there's plenty to do outside. There's less to do, less of that in Ohio. And so the goal here with this Ohio movement is to create virtual men's groups to begin with. And we've been awarded a grant by Spike the Stigma, Mend the Mind, who is someone that I actually went to high school with. And she has an annual volleyball tournament for men's mental health. She lost a good male friend of hers a few years ago. They've raised 30 to 45 grand a year with that. So she's pretty passionate about helping men, obviously, and we've been awarded this grant to come back. I'm from Ohio, and we've had success out west. I'm based in Arizona, and now we're trying to come back here and help more men, especially during this time, to connect with each other. Because, as we just said, took a lot to get us out here today, and it's freezing and it's drizzling on us, and it's hard to get outside. It's hard to connect. It's hard to move, but all of these things are so important for our mental health, especially as men. And there are a lot of generationally ingrained stigmas that prevent us from doing this. There's a lot of barriers, and we're creatures that pursue the path of least resistance, right? So we're trying to make it easy for men to connect and feel supported and make friends with these virtual Ohio Speak Your Mind men's groups. And we want to start 6 of them by July. That's the goal. And once the weather starts to turn, we'll start to do more outdoor groups. And naturally, as this organization started as men's mental health, a lot of women show up and they're like, what about us?
When we're doing our behind the scenes work, I got a comment online about, well, what about women? They weren't saying it seems sexist, but there was sort of an overtone to it of questioning of, well, what about us? And of course, we're not against women. We never would be, and we're all for helping everyone. But I know that your passion is men, and it stems from your particular struggles in life. And I mean, you know the statistics better than I, but men are struggling at a higher clip, I'd say, and suicides specifically are much greater in men than women. And just, I guess, a little background for myself. Part of why I care about mental health so much is my sister-in-law struggles. And watching her go through that, she had a couple attempts on her life, which that's not even my blood sister, but just watching my wife go through that and her family go through that, it really shook me to my core, and I was greatly emotional about that.
I remember that. We were working together back then.
So it was very scary, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. She still deals with her mental health to this day, and it's an ongoing battle for the rest of her life.
Common struggles as a man in Ohio.
Well, being from the Midwest, this is God country, as they say. And I think the culture is a little bit different there than in Arizona. Obviously, we were both born and raised here, and there's definitely a sense of you got to man up, and there's no time for feelings and emotions or crying. Definitely not that as a man. But we're trying to break that stigma and try to give space for men to feel comfortable talking about things, being vulnerable and emotional, and talking about their problems, because that's what we need in life.
It's not good to hold it in. And
Mm-mm.
I think that's what I realized during my struggles after I left Ohio. Is like, holy shit, I've been told my whole life not to feel, not to express, and not to struggle or share my struggles. And I did that, and I held it in until I became so depressed that I didn't want to live anymore. And other men are doing that, and they're getting to the point where they take their own lives. And my own struggles are what led to me being passionate about helping other men. And so we've had some success out west in Arizona. There's a lot more hills and mountains to climb and better access to nature, I think, which is another thing that we lean on. We lean on movement and nature. So our goal is to lead the way in shouting from the rooftops that it's healthy and strong and attractive to speak up about your struggles and what you're going through. It's really not smart to hold it in. We used to
Yeah.
think that, but that's not true. And I think as a society, we're going in that direction. But at Speak Your Mind, we're trying to lead the way for the men who still think that.
There's definitely been a push, I'd say, in our lifetimes of getting away from that old school mentality of just shoving everything down and not talking about it. But we've still got a long way to go. And especially in this current day and age of the internet and the sort of manosphere, podcasting and YouTubing and the alpha male mentality, that's not right. We need to push back on that and say that it's cool, it's manly to actually talk about things and talk about your struggles and call your brother or your friend and ask them how they're doing. Let's build this community of men who want to lift each other up in nature. We just want to break that stigma and change some minds about how to do things in 2025.
Yeah, that's essentially what we're doing, defining what it is to be a man. Because what we're talking about here is this outdated, toxic version of what strength and masculinity is, which has been birthed from this wound from father to son that is full of suppression instead of acceptance, love, and support for who we are. And so when you carry that onward, that develops hate for self and for others, and you want to put others down to gain energy as a man when your father never told you that you were a man. So you're constantly living your life and trying to prove it to everyone by putting them down to feel strong and big.
Oh, yeah.
So that's our goal, is to define healthy masculinity. You can be strong and big and loud, but you can also speak up when you're going through hard times and when you don't know and you don't have the answers. And my biggest struggle when my son was born was that I thought I had to be perfect and unwavering, and I wasn't okay. I didn't feel safe to speak up and say that I wasn't okay, that I couldn't be like the strong, perfect, and infinite figure that everyone wanted me to be.
No one's perfect, of course. And I think we're all striving to be better people. And that's probably why a lot of people will hopefully find this, either men or women or whomever, want to better themselves. And we're all trying to not be perfect, but our own versions, I guess, of perfect. And just be better in life. And it starts in here.
And it helps when you have other men around you supporting you going in here, because it's not an easy thing for men. We haven't been taught and supported in doing that as young boys. Women have, men haven't, so it's hard for us, and we actually need that masculine support. That's been the most empowering thing for me. It's completely changed my life to show all of my stuff that I'm not proud of, that I think is weak and I've been told is weak, and to share that with another man and be seen and loved and accepted by that I think is incredibly healing, empowering to men. What to expect from Speak Your Mind virtual men's group. I think there's stigmas here too, honestly. A lot of men hear men's group and they think of Sacred Sons and Mankind Project
or some sort of religious overtones,
which are all pretty intense. And I think what sets us apart is that we are balanced in the masculine and feminine. It's structured enough to hold space and to have agreements to where people feel safe to share whatever they need to, but it's not intense. It's not like this intense accountability and show up on time or don't show up at all kind of thing. Obviously, we want people to be on time, but it's a lot more balanced and simple and structured and open and welcoming. So our virtual men's groups right now are led by Matthew. He's based in Costa Rica. He's an incredible man. He's doing a great job, and he's kind of taken off. We try to cap them at 8, keep them a little smaller, and for time reasons. And there's typically just a few simple rounds, introductions, just to get acquainted, support round, which is your opportunity to talk about whatever you need to, or if, like you said, and sometimes in life, you're not really struggling that deeply mentally right now, but there's still a lot of unknowns in life that you would like to have support on. So that's kind of the second round. And then the last round is a stretch round. That I think is appealing to a lot of men because men really like to work towards stuff. They really like to build and grow. I do personally. I really like to elevate and work on my stuff internally, externally. I like to build stuff. And internal work is very difficult for men because we've never been really supported or informed on how to do that. So the support round is where you can do that, is get support on whatever you're going through. And of course, you don't have to share either. There's never any pressure to share. And so they're going really well, and we want to bring them to Ohio to help men here, especially during this time of year where it's a struggle to get outside. It's a struggle to meet up and connect, and it's very easy to isolate, especially with social media and how all of that is going. So we'll start with virtual groups. Our goal is to have 6 of them by July 1st. And then we will start to move outside not in July, but we'll start to move outside in the spring when it gets a little bit warmer, because our standard groups, men's groups, women co-ed groups, they're all nature and movement based. So we want to start virtual for now, keep that going, keep that growing, because it is easier. It's easier for people when they're at home to just log in for free. It's donation based, but very cheap, easy way to connect with people during the winter in Ohio. We have this on our website. What is a group? What to expect? What concerns might you have right now, which are a lot of introverts kind of struggle to get out of their little shell and go outside and meet people or go on a virtual call because they have these stigmas and internal blocks. Question or thing that we address is donations. So everything that we do is donation based right now. And some people ask, like, what do you need money for? And I don't think that they understand that we are a nonprofit organization that costs money to maintain and especially to grow. So there's 2 things: marketing materials, admin costs, meetup.com expenses, stuff like that.
And all these other accounts that you need to, like, and pro subscriptions to. And
yeah, we just went over, ask what donations are for. We just went over how to spend this $2,500 grant, and it was like, we can just fly through this between Social Champ, like on all of our platforms, Canva Pro, and meetup.com is $30 a month per group. So we'll have to start at least 1 group to start in Ohio on Meetup. And then, of course, you have legal fees and fees just to keep the business going.
Yeah, daily operational fees is a lot. Yeah, for a nonprofit organization. A lot of people probably don't understand that.
And then there's the cost to expand. It's money to expand and bring people in to run this organization. That's our plan right now, is we have a big 5K in Phoenix, May 10th, and we also bring in funds, donations for all these groups. And we're also working on additional collaborations to bring in our own revenue streams. And they all go towards raising $170K just for phase 1 growth, which is where we can bring a few people in, get our own 501c3 status, and continue to expand. We're doing is working, but like, I do this for free all my life. You and probably 8 other volunteers are helping us now too. And it's like, you can't just last on free help forever. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what donations go towards, are all the cost to run the business and then expansion plans. And we get all the way up to in the millions as far as like generated for the organization to grow and help up to 500,000 people a year. And you can't just do that for free. It costs money. Shout out to Spike the Stigma, Mend the Mind. This is an annual volleyball tournament for men's mental health. who a friend of mine that I went to high school with
Mm-hmm.
started and has raised $35,000 to $45,000 a year towards organizations like ours who are trying to make a difference. So thank you guys for the support. Really, honestly do appreciate that.
And that's happening right here in Columbus at Woodlands every year, I think in July. So
Yep, mid-July.
if you're interested, look into that place.
And thanks to their support, we have some funds to start to bring back this mental health movement that I've started out west, where I am now based, and bring it back to Ohio, where I really resonate with, and I have very direct, painful awareness of how hard it can be in Ohio. So we're really grateful and excited to start these groups. Success stories with Speak Your Mind men's groups. All of our groups are incredible. I have not been a part of a women's group. I don't plan to be a part of a women's group, but I've led co-ed groups. And the energy there is so beautiful when we set intentions for everyone to come together, anyone and everyone to come together with the simple framework of showing up in the heart and soul space and supporting each other on a deeper level, getting outside, moving the body. It's just amazing, the energy that we create there. And then, like we said, the benefits of men supporting men are unique, and they cannot be replicated in any other way than men coming together with the intention of, hey, it's okay to talk, and it's okay to not be perfect, and it's okay to go through some shit, and it's good to be heard and seen in that. And that's kind of the new way. So success stories. It's honestly, every single time I leave the men's group that I lead in Flagstaff, Arizona on Thursday nights, I just want to like tell everyone about it, because I leave feeling so good in my heart and my soul from the healing that's happening. People show up and they've been depressed for months and months and months, and they've had no one to go to, and then they show up with us for a few weeks and they're like, this has really changed my life. Even though we're not all best friends, I've made some friends. Even when I don't talk to anyone from this group, I know there's someone else out there who's going through some shit, and I feel less alone. And that's the whole point, is for us to help people feel less alone, more connected, and more normal in their human struggle. We all go through the same shit as men. But when we don't talk about it, we feel like we're the only ones, and our lives are horrible. So
everyone's going through some stuff, whether it's a deep depression or if it's just, hey, I'm feeling a little down for whatever reason, or hey, I don't feel like I'm on the right path in life or at work or maybe a relationship. It's definitely worth having those other opinions, other points of view.
And even if it's like, you don't have to be deeply struggling.
No.
Matthew, the guy who runs our virtual group, he says, I think we should try and strive to encourage every man to be in a men's group. He's like, I think every man should be in a men's group. And you don't have to be deeply struggling, but it's good to have support. It's good to be connected. And statistically, it's been proven that the more connections you have in life, the higher the chance of you being a successful human being is. So connecting with other human beings is a good thing.
And even if you have a good support system, this could be, is that a different perspective? Maybe someone that's like actually not a friend could be beneficial in a way to talk to somebody who's outside of your inner circle, because they have a different perspective, or maybe they've gone through something different or a similar experience to you that they could help.
For sure. Being more connected is a good thing. And unfortunately, the traditional outdated views of masculinity say that you should be more disconnected, and that is not good for you. And that's the problem.
Yeah, especially in this day and age of the internet, and everyone's online on their phones all the time, scrolling, doom scrolling, and that's extremely dangerous. And I struggle with that myself. It's very easy to get trapped in your phone and to get angry about things. Politics or whatever else out there can fire you up, and you just have to realize that's not real life. That's just the internet, and got to get outside and explore nature.
One of a really beautiful success story we had recently was we had one guy show up with a pretty severe TBI, traumatic brain injury. And it happened when he was in college, and it's hard for him to talk. He talks very fast, and there's a disconnect between what he wants to say and what comes out. And he hasn't been able to hold a job or have a relationship for the past, he's in his mid-50s now.
Yeah.
And so one, it was really nice to give him a space to talk. And of course, he talks about his injury and how it's affected. And then we had another guy with a TBI come.
Really?
And to have two guys with TBIs share, and then they talk to each other about their perception and situation in life and how they don't feel like they're normal people anymore, and they feel like it changed their personality and they're not who they want to be. Those are deep, lifelong struggles that these two men have had for years.
Severe trauma.
And they get to talk to each other about it.
Extremely difficult, but that's powerful. Little connections like that, small world sometimes, but I'm sure that was great for both of them to find each other.
I don't think that they realized how good that was for them, but I could see it in the moment. I was just like this is what we're doing. We're providing men an opportunity to talk about their stuff that they're going through and relate with each other. Well, you are a good friend. Thank you for coming out and freezing your ass off with me to talk about a really important topic.
Just a couple of Ohio boys and some Ohio weather.
I always say you got to be tough to live in Ohio.
That's for damn sure.
Hot as hell during the summer and freezing during the winter. But thank you for helping us with this Ohio movement.
Of course, you called on me to volunteer. I was excited to help out, to do something different outside of my corporate job. It's not super fulfilling. That's kind of why you left corporate, but it's hard to knock the benefits and the stability of it. But doing this has been a little bit helpful to me and my mental health, just to feel like I'm doing something to help betterment of society.
Good. Beautiful. It is probably good for other men to see a corporate guy talk about this stuff, because I think there's stigmas there too that prevent guys from talking, and they only talk when they've had a few beers or whatever, and that's not a healthy way for me, at least, to manage my mental health.
I know some guys who they like to bottle things up, and then on the weekends maybe they had a little bit too much to drink and then they're acting weird. And why is that? Well, it's probably because they're struggling on the inside. It's sort of a cry for help.
It's interesting that you mentioned why I left corporate America, because that is, and I'm glad to hear that you feel supported. Speak your mind, because I've shared our people strategy, as we call it, and that is for everyone here to feel supported and feel connected and feel part of a community. So I'm happy to hear that. That's kind of what we're all about, because I worked a job where profit was the main goal, and I think that people should always be over profit, and that's the culture we're building here. Thank you for helping us, and if anyone else wants to join us, let us know. We definitely need group leaders, and we're happy to call in volunteers in Ohio to help us build, as Austin is, and just calling in people in Ohio in general to join us for this mental health movement.
Calling out all Ohio boys.
Yes, sir.
Come on in. The water's warm.
Water's freezing, but in our hearts it's warm. I don't know if we can turn that one around. Thanks, dude.
No problem.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.